As the rate of Western businesses leaving Russia has quickened, American business Cisco Systems and Nike have announced plans to completely leave the country. Cisco, a manufacturer of communications equipment, said that it will cease operations in Russia and Belarus. 3 months after halting business there, sportswear manufacturer Nike announced that it is leaving Russia completely. A new law that will empower Moscow to confiscate assets and inflict criminal fines may be enacted in the upcoming weeks, making it more difficult for foreign businesses to leave Russia because of the conflict in Ukraine. Some firms have accelerated their exit as a result of this. For more on these headlines, we have Ajibola Akanmo, who is an investment analyst, joining us right here in Lagos. Ajibola, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Starting with the U.S., if this gun legislation becomes law, how do you think it's going to impact gun manufacturers in the States?
Well, I mean, what happened in the U.S. is actually very, very tragic. We saw 31 dead in the school, and it's really, really uplifting that the vote has been passed, and by a very, very good majority, 65 against 33. That's actually very, very good. But to gun manufacturers, I mean, if you look at the details of the laws, I don't think the new legislation is going to literally affect them per se, because what we're seeing in the legislation is more background checks for people that are under 21 trying to purchase a gun. There are reservations for mental health facilities and care. I think they put about 15 billion for that. So what we're really seeing is not necessarily the law that we would hope for, but it's something along the way of moving in the right direction, right? So we're not, for gun manufacturers, of course, doing more background checks for people under 31, they may not necessarily get a lot of customers within that segment, but ultimately I don't think that the new law is going to really affect their bottom lines and profitability in the long run.
All right. Let's talk about the proposed ARM listing. NASDAQ is favored by Massachusetts Son, but it's saying there's a lot of lobbying on behalf of the UK. Where do you think this goes?
Well, I mean, because of the lobbying, I think he would end up listing on the London Stock Exchange, right? I mean, when I was reading that report, Boris Johnson, the UK Prime Minister, actually reached out to him to tell him to list on the London Exchange. And of course, everybody knows why the NASDAQ is preferred, more popular, people love it, more listing requirements are very, very minimal compared to other exchanges. So ultimately what I do believe is because of the lobbying, of course NASDAQ is the favorite for any company that wants to list, whether small, medium scale or even large scale. But for him, because of that level of lobbying, I mean, if you have the Prime Minister of your country calling you in regards to this, I think you would want to listen. So that's what I think. I think we will end up listening in London Exchange.
Yeah, that's true. Who would deny a phone call from Boris Johnson? Netflix laying off more employees. Are there more struggles ahead for the streaming giant?
Yes, I mean, they warned us in the Q1 report that they expect the subscriber base to decrease by another 2 million users. So I think we should still expect more struggle from Netflix. The share price is still down over 70% year to date. From its all-time high, it's even way more than that. Stocks like companies like Netflix, they have this growth factor. So their revenue or their entire existence is dependent on how well they can grow their subscriber base or how well they can grow their clientele base or customer base. So when we're not seeing that, a lot of investors shy away from that stock, and then ultimately we'll see a lot of pullback. And when we see that level of pullback, revenue doesn't come into play as it used to be, and investors tend to pull away from that type of stock. So ultimately, I do believe that, yes, in terms of the company's performance and also in terms of interest in the company, I don't believe that Netflix is going to have, at least the next 2 to 3 quarters are going to be very, very challenging for the platform.
Speaking of challenging, what do you make of the Moody's downgrade of Coinbase?
I mean, that should be expected because, I mean, they laid off about 1,700, 1,800 workers last month. And, and that's because of the interest in the cryptocurrency space. We're seeing the volume of transactions on cryptocurrency exchanges compared to last year when cryptocurrencies was basically the in thing, right? The volume of transactions has decreased by over 50% compared to last year. So we're seeing less and less interest. And this is not just a Coinbase issue. It's literally across every other centralized exchange from Binance, FTX, you can name it. So because of this problem, I do believe that the downgrading was necessary because the revenue isn't coming into Coinbase as it was last year. And even aside from revenue, we're seeing Coinbase, luckily for us, that Coinbase is trying to do more in terms of building more avenues to retain its retail subscriber base or its retail clients, right? Yesterday, they announced the fact that they are going to be launching their derivatives platform. And hopefully that derivatives platform gingers retail participation in the space. But personally, because of the way Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are falling, I mean, the cryptocurrency market has lost its $1 trillion status. A lot of people are running away. A lot of people are there are even trends. A report I read, the term Bitcoin is dead has literally been a trending topic on Google. So a lot of people are researching that. So people are really, really shying away because of the FUD. FUD meaning fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market. So yes, the downgrade, I even think they will still further downgrade Coinbase in the third or fourth quarter.
Finally, just a few seconds. As far as more headwinds for crypto, the hack of $100 million from the Holloway platform, do you think that adds to the headwinds?
For me, on the hack, I have this opinion. I mean, when you were briefing the news, before you could transfer money, you needed 2 signatures, right? And if we look back to what happened with Axie Infinity's rolling hack that happened in sometime in March, $650 million was stolen approximately, right? And what happened? We saw that the hackers and Axie Infinity rolling bridge had 7 signatures, and they were able to hack 7 signatures. So I think more and more cryptocurrency platforms, especially in the DeFi space, also blockchain-related projects, everybody needs to do more in terms of decentralization and security. And that's why the proof of work has always been preferred over the proof of stake. I mean, think about it. You have a platform of that magnitude, and then you only have to require 2 signatures for you to be able to move money from one place to another. I think there should be more decentralization. And a lot of these blockchains tend to claim they are decentralized, but at the end of the day, you just need the signatures of 2 people to move money around. That doesn't spell decentralization and defeats the purpose of cryptocurrencies in the first place. I think more and more people need to do more in terms of that. But luckily for them, blockchain transactions can be easily tracked, except for the fact that if they go through privacy applications like Tornado Cash. And so far, they've already alerted different cryptocurrency exchanges to the hacker, and the wallet of the hacker is also known. So when funds are moved around, people can easily track those funds. So that's the plus side of having blockchain technology, right? So the money isn't totally done. We can see it, but the platform just doesn't have access to those funds. So hopefully, when the hacker tries to cash in that theft, people will be able to, what's the right word here? Be able to monitor that transaction and maybe lead back to the hacker the same way we saw with Bitfinex when they the investments. So yeah, that's my own take on that.
Ajibola Akanmo, investment analyst, thanks for taking us through the headlines. Appreciate your insights.